Hey there, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Daniel James Grondal, and I do a lot of different things here on the YouTube channel. I'm just kind of getting it started. Part of what I'm doing here, though, is introducing you to me as a person and an artist so that you can get to know me a little bit better and know how I tick and how I like to create and what are some of the things that I am into artistically. So I wanted to use this video right here to talk a little bit about my creative process regarding music. And I wanted to talk about, in particular, my first album, which is Ego. So, first of all, the album Ego, I chose to do this particular album to start with because, so a big thing for me is being zen and calm and centered and letting go of your ego. And so for me, starting with an album that represents kind of all the unhealthy manifestations of the ego was a very rational and reasonable starting point for me in my music adventure here. So I thought I'll just create an album out of that has a bunch of different tracks that display how people can have a really strong ego and how it can be destructive or come across as just not pleasant, overbearing, uh, actually destructive. I have one track that I'm going to be doing on the album called Apocalypse, and that is about being angry at somebody and then trying to basically kind of destroy them over it, which is incredibly unhealthy to do. Um, for me, it's like, okay, things happen. People, you get upset, you have a misunderstanding with somebody, and you just should kind of go, okay, well, that was an experience. I learned something from it and I'm walking away. But like I said, there's the song Fashion. So, fashion is about being too obsessed with materialistic objects and a little bit, egotistical about yourself and how you look all the time. And there's Na Na Na, which is a very interesting song. I've been told that it's I don't know, eccentric. And like I said, I say on my Spotify that I created character pop. So and that's part of character pop, which we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But anyway, I do voices in there and stuff. But the point of the song is um, part of the ego, right? So the person in the song is saying, you're beautiful, but I'm beautiful too, and you can only have me if I have you, and then all this kind of stuff, and like tit for tat kind of stuff. And then there's the song "Taking My Power Back," which that's gonna be my first music video that I release. And in that song, that's actually kind of that's just the song where you're gaining your control back. And I know I put it kind of early in the album release, but it's where you're starting to become more centered and you're saying, okay, look, I have been controlled, I have been manipulated by people in the past, and I am not going to allow that anymore. And I'm going to start becoming grounded and taking responsibility for my own life, because no matter what you do in life, people are going to not like it. They're going to be upset. I know this is true. You could be the most talented person in the world. People will still say that you are terrible and you suck, and that's just the way it is. So it's saying, live your life the way you want to do it unapologetically and have joy in your life and follow your passions and all of that sort of stuff. That's what it's about. It's about empowerment to take back control of your life and live for you and for your joy and not for other people's joy, and not to show, to show other people, oh, I'm successful, or look at me, kind of thing, that sort of thing. So that's what that's about. The fourth track, which I'm going to be releasing soon, it's called No Escape. That song is basically about obsessive and codependent relationships. And so that's one other aspect of the ego. So, coveting, wanting, desiring, and, that sort of thing can be very unhealthy for people. So anyway, this album for me was this catharsis about letting go of the ego, because that's something that I had done a little while ago. Well, not entirely. I mean, it's still a process, and I'll be making more videos about Zen and that process of trying to let go of your ego and being centered and free and all that sort of thing. So we'll talk more about that. But in the creative process for this album, what I did, which I've done songwriting both ways. So I've written songs where I write the lyrics first. However, I typically don't really like that method of writing. I like to do the music first and then do the lyrics after. I find that it works better for me because I hear the music and I like the music just by itself. First of all, to me, I want a strong piece of music that is going to kind of stand on its own without any lyrics or vocals or anything. Where if you hear it, just the music, you go, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. This is got, it's got a life of its own, kind of thing, without any embellishment on top of it. And then, like somebody said the other day, they heard my song No Escape and they said, oh, that's dramatic. Like the music is dramatic. So, yeah, I like that process, and that's what I did with this album. Is I did the music first, and so I wrote all the tracks in the computer. I did this all through a computer for this album, and I got all of those tracks done, and then I would listen to them kind of over and over and over again while I was driving back and forth to work, things like that. And I would think to myself, what is this song saying to me? Like, what does it make me feel? Does it make me feel like, about like No Escape, about obsessive relationships, things like that? What comes to my mind just listening to the music? And so I listened to the music, and then I came up with a basic idea, like obsession, right? And then I would sit down and write the lyrics out to the song. And typically when I write, like on this album, when I wrote the lyrics, they were really pretty quick. Most songs only took me an hour to an hour and a half to write the lyrics. And the music actually didn't take very long either. It was probably, I would say, a couple hours, maybe at the most, probably faster than that on writing the music. The hardest, longest part for me is coming up with the concept of the song and then cementing that down, and then also recording a song. So it was really interesting when I was recording the vocals. At least so far, I haven't recorded the vocals for all the songs yet. I have all the lyrics done and all the music for the album, but I think it's really interesting because I don't really know how I'm going to sing a song until I sing it. So I have the lyrics and I have this, and I kind of have an idea in my head. And I'm like, okay, I might sing it this way or whatever. But until I actually do start singing it, it comes out one way in my head. And then when I sing it, I'm like, okay, wait, that doesn't work. It doesn't fit what I'm feeling with this song. So I will change up what I'm doing vocally. So that's one thing that kind of led to the character pop thing, because so when I was doing fashion, which we'll talk more about this kind of stuff later, I went to my boyfriend and I said, I laid down the vocals, and I said, what do you think about this? Is it missing anything? And because I was doing it a little bit more just kind of straight, and I hate to use the word straight. That's not what I mean by, heterosexuality. I'm just saying, like, I just sang it in a normal kind of singing voice and with some attitude, but it just wasn't working. And so he said, you need to, use your homosexual aspect of yourself and kind of, queer it up a little bit, right? And so I thought, well, I'm going to let out my inner drag queen, so to speak, and just go for it. Like, kind of, balls to the walls kind of thing. I'll just go for it. And I did, and it worked. And I thought, this is great. It was campy, it was fun, which is what it's supposed to be. And so I kind of did the same thing with Na Na Na. You'll understand when you see the music video why there are basically puppet voices in the song. But so yeah, that's kind of what I did for this process. So with music writing, like I said, I typically like to use music first, then lyrics. Like I said, I have done the other way around. If I have a lyric that I really, really, really like, sometimes I'll jot things down if it occurs to me, and I'll think, okay, I got to jot that down and save it for later, and then I'll construct a song out of it. But I typically, that doesn't work as well for me. I don't like to make the music fit the lyrics. I'd rather have the lyrics fit the music. And I know a lot of people write the other way around. A lot of bands and stuff, they'll I don't know. I mean, I guess it's both ways. Sometimes they're like, oh, this is really cool. This is a cool bass line that they're playing or whatever. But anyway, that's what works for me. So my advice to anybody out there who is writing music, and constructing music, first of all, it's become a lot easier to do with computers. Um, I think that it's good to have an ear for what works where and what doesn't, though. You got to be able to kind of piece things together and go, okay, you need a transition here, and this does not work with this and stuff. You got to be able to hear it. And so sometimes it might be good if you're struggling with that. I would have other people listen to it and say, is it disjointed? Does it not flow very well? You also need to set it up so it has like verse, space, verse, space, chorus, whatever. So there's like a normal flow to the music, and then you might go back to a verse and then a space and a verse. So you kind of repeat that sequence, or maybe you start with the chorus and work your way through whatever you want for the song, but it has to have structure. It can't just be kind of like random noise everywhere, unless that's what you're going for, because by all means, you be you and you do you. But if you're doing kind of more of a pop type song, that's, you got to have a structure to it, maybe like a section where it's a bridge, and something a little different there in the middle to mix things up. I like to do harmony sometimes in my songs and things like that, in different vocal ranges and stuff, so that which I do sing all my own music pretty much, keeping it poppin' has one other person on there, but I do the male and the female part on that song, which is because I couldn't find any females to rap for me, so I just screwed, I'll just do it myself. But anyway, this is kind of going on long, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the way I work. The other thing I might say to somebody if they're doing music is just work on your writing skills as far as lyrics. I find that it's hard to write something that rhymes sometimes without sounding hokey, and let yourself be flexible. If you start to sing the song and it doesn't fit, rewrite it to fit where it is, and sometimes that works out better. But my biggest thing is let it be organic. Don't try to force something. Just let it flow out of you like you're channeling it, instead of trying to make it fit. And the other thing too is, I think people worry about whether it's popular, where it's going to be popular or not too much. And I'm not saying you can't have a little bit of that, but I think that stifles your creativity when you're like, oh, are people going to really like it? Or are they not going to like it? Thing is some of the best music that's ever been created is just or it's like the old bands in the 70s and stuff. They would just write, and they would be super creative, and they'd go into the studio and just do weird things and stuff like that. That was fantastic to me. I thought that was great. And a lot of like Led Zeppelin and a lot of these amazing bands, Queen and everything, Beatles, even their later stuff, they would just be very creative and let it just kind of go, and it creates brilliance. So that's another piece of advice on writing music. The other thing too is you can get an online distributor now. You can buy your own equipment to make your own music videos. You can film them and process them and everything on your own. I do recommend, if you're going to record, taking your recording into a recording studio that mixes and masters really well. Personally, I don't like to do it. I tried it. It's not my thing. It's not my jam. I don't want to be an engineer. So I take that, I record something, and then I take it into the studio. They make it sound the way I want it. They mix it and master it down, and voila, it's done. I don't need to struggle for 48, 50 hours trying to make it sound right. So anyway, that's my advice to you on that too. So thank you very much for tuning into my YouTube channel, and for following me. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be making a lot more videos. Some of it will be advice in this process, things that maybe I run into in becoming a recording artist and a songwriter, and making videos and all sorts of things like that. So anyway, hopefully you have a wonderful and blessed day, and thank you very much. Bye.